Everybody, welcome into the Laughlin Studios, a.k.a. the Laughlin Basement.
Come on, Court, stop it already. Look at all this cool stuff. We've got lights, we got everything here. This is our studio.
Okay, not basement, studio. I tried to pull a fast one on you.
Studio 18.
Oh, I like it.
We're going to get an advertiser for that. We're
Hello,
in Studio 18.
Everybody. Welcome into Family Face-Off, Studio 18. I'm Courtney Laughlin. That's my dad. You all know him, Craig Laughlin. Dad, I don't even know what's going on. It's week 5 here now of Family Face-Off, and the COVID stuff has finally hit the Caps and really the NHL. Do we even want to go over the games from last week? Do we want to talk about the week ahead? What are you feeling?
I'm feeling, first off the bat, because COVID has depressed me, because we're going to miss games coming up, and they're going to have to be rescheduled, so that's a real bummer. Before we get into our show, I want this to be sort of a timely thing every time we do Family Face-Off. I want to talk about number 5.
Oh, okay, the number 5.
Greatest number 5s ever, and obviously I'll end with a cap. Greatest number 5s
so
ever.
You're just making that. You just made up a whole new segment.
Yes, okay. Greatest number 5s. Nick Lidstrom. Come on. There's no one even close to number 5 in Motown. Nick Lidstrom, I think, won probably 25 Norris trophies. Just kidding, but he won a ton. And he's won Stanley Cups, Hall of Famer. One of the best number 5s. Number 2, Dennis Potvin. Even though when I played against him, he was the big hip checker on the island, but he was the captain for the Islanders, won many Norris trophies, lots of points, more offensive than Nick Lidstrom, but what a player he was, the best hip checker in the league by far that we've seen in the last 40 years. Number 3, Guy Lapointe, who played for Montreal when they had all their Stanley Cups. I had the fortunate opportunity to play with Guy, and one of the greatest guys. I think we were talking about pranks and pranksters and things like that. We mentioned that. Well, there's no one better than Guy Lapointe pulling pranks, and I went through it as a rookie in Montreal. Just an unbelievable prankster, but an unbelievable defenseman. And last but not least, the best number 5 ever in Washington Capitals history, our good friend Rod Langway, the Secretary of Defense. So that's my quick look at who I rate as the top 4 or 5, some days it may be 5, players who wore number 5 around the NHL.
Rod Langway also joined our show Family Face-Off a couple episodes ago. Fantastic to talk to.
So depress me some more. Let's talk about COVID.
I feel like now it's like my turn to talk. You just stole
Give me
the whole
some
opener of the
statistics
show.
about this and what's happening.
Okay, yeah. So obviously the Caps games are postponed until at least February 14th, Sunday, we believe, when they'll play the Pittsburgh Penguins. Here's some kind of numbers about COVID around the league. 33 games as of Tuesday have been postponed. There have been disruptions in games in every division except for the North Division, which is the Canadian division.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Kind of crazy. Over 100 players across the league have gone on the COVID-19 list since the season began, but fewer than half of those players have confirmed positive test results. That's what Gary Bettman said last week. Here's what's interesting, though. 33,000 tests were conducted when the teams were in the bubble, and 0 positive COVID cases. So,
are we okay? Then you're saying,
are we ready for a pause or a bubble?
I think we're ready for a bubble, and I think that could happen. I really, honestly think we could be heading in that direction because of the uptick in all these COVID situations and games having to be canceled, players getting them. It's really put a real wrench in the schedule. I think the NHL had a good plan, though, at the start. They got about 10 days to 2 weeks at the end of the season before they actually kick into the playoffs to make sure they can finish off the season. You know what? I think at the end of the year, there'll be teams not playing a full complement of 56. I firmly believe that, and that's why they've already told everybody, well, then it comes down to win percentage, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
That doesn't bother me. If you're going to rank teams by win percentage, that is
Do it.
fine by me, but let's get to the Stanley Cup playoffs.
And they did that when the teams were in the bubble. Last year, they rated them by points percentage.
Correct.
That will make it interesting, though, in terms of if teams play an unfair number of games, which we saw last year, too, in the bubble. The scoring titles and all those awards. And is it going to be unfortunate for some players because they played more games? Like right now, and Dad, we're going to talk about it. We're going to do a little look around the NHL to see who's hot, who's not, notes about things. Austin Matthews is leading the NHL in goals. So, again, that's
the Canadian division, right? You expect them to play 56 no matter what.
Right.
Connor McDavid, all those type
Right.
of guys could have the upper hand on those type of awards. So be it. It's a way.
Yeah.
It's the cards we are dealt this year. I'm just so happy what the NHL has done, Court. And it happened when we were doing the New York Ranger game in New York, when they stepped in and said, you know what? Let's make some changes. Let's try to be progressive. Let's not sit back. We see these cases happening, so let's implement new things. Let's implement no glass behind the bench so there's more airflow.
Right.
Let's make sure the players sit 6 feet apart. And I can't believe they could do that in New York, because honestly, Court, the dressing room that I sat in New York City, 10 by 10, and I swear they never cleaned them when I played, but now they do, obviously. But that is a tough thing to do. I think the hour and 45 prior to games is a good thing, so
Right.
less time in the rink. And I think some new things that are going to come out because of this increase in COVID cases, I think we're going to see more filters, HEPA filters and things like that placed on the benches, placed in the locker room. I think you're going to see more team events such as video reviews done at home via Zoom. And the players will practice, they'll go home, and they're going to say, you know what, guys, we have a 3 o'clock Zoom with Coach Laviolette, 3 to 3:45, that we're going to go over our systems for the upcoming game, rather than keeping the players in the rink and rather than keeping them in the practice rink and the big rinks.
But they already kind of are, right? Those protocols are in that 56-page document that the NHL sent out.
Correct. But I think I still think you're allowed few team meetings, and you're
Yeah.
allowed things like that, and you're allowed to talk to players with distancing, but you can't really have big group functions in the locker room. So I just think more things can be done remote. I think through COVID, we've learned how to deal with remote learning, with remote meetings, with remote everything that we're doing, right?
Yeah.
So why not carry that over and just have the players there for practice, get them out of there so they get home and they're in a safe environment.
I still think, though, I think one of the concerns, and even Samsonov talked about it, and Kuznetsov talked about it. Samsonov said he had trouble breathing even when he was walking, right? So I think the concern now for a lot of fans out there, for media that is watching this league, is when is enough for putting these players at jeopardy. And I know that they signed up for it. They agreed to the document. They agreed to the protocols, and they are professional athletes. But I don't know. I don't think I personally expected this many COVID cases 4 weeks into the season. And I do think it's time for the NHL to kind of be like, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix this?
And to do that, it's going to take a real good relationship between the NHLPA and the
Right.
NHL. And I'm not sure who's going to step up first. It could be
Right.
the NHLPA powers and their side of the bargaining group that says, look, guys, enough is enough. Let's take a pause. Let's go to a bubble. We're having too many cases right now, and I think that's going to unfold. I really believe all these cases, and not cases, but all these events will unfold, I think, before March 1st, before sort of the second half of the
Right.
season kicks in.
Well, let's get to the Caps then, Dad, because
Okay.
we do have some things to
Yeah.
talk about. They've lost 3 straight. Not great, and as
God,
Laviolette
you're
said,
negative Nelly today.
I know.
Wow.
We
I thought I was having
a better show at Studio 18.
I thought I
here.
was trying to throw some fun in with number 5.
Dad, there's
now I
no-
got COVID. Now I got 3 in a row losing. What are you going to throw at me next?
There's no Caps hockey till February
There's
14th.
3. You see, you got a hat trick of
We're only
negatives.
9 minutes into the show. Okay, but they have lost 3 in a row.
Yep.
And as Laviolette said, they're scoring enough, but they're allowing too many. Vanacek, I think, finally was at his breaking point after his great start to the season.
And then he sort of faltered against the Flyers.
And then you see Craig Anderson come in. I don't think he
Wasn't sharp.
He was not. And I don't know. I think when you look at it, they have a lot of injuries. They had a lot of guys out for COVID protocols. This isn't the roster that we've seen the Caps team is not the Washington Capitals roster.
Since the first 2 games, Court, when we said, wow, are the Caps ever coming out of the gate fast, they've only had 8 players play every game.
Wow.
Till now. So that sort of tells you the story. It has been mix and match, throw the lines in the blender, throw the players in the blender. And I'm not even sure Laviolette on a nightly basis knows who's going to be available.
Right. And at what time?
Yeah. And so he's trying to mix and match. We saw him go 11-7, right, in New York, maybe due to players or maybe due to salary cap. And so you have all these issues playing into the thing. And I'm very happy with where they are, the points that they've put up, right? They're really 6-6. When you look at it, you get loser points, but they're 6-6. So they're a 500 team. But they're still battling Philadelphia and Boston for the top spot in the East. And they still, in my mind, once they get healthy, will be a powerhouse to be in the top of this division.
So some bright spots. Alex Ovechkin has been great. That top line, Ovi, Backstrom, Wilson, phenomenal. Backstrom, I mean, leading the Caps in points.
17 points,
6 goals, 11 assists.
And we talk about balance, though, and that sort of derails our thought on balance, right? Because of their top trio, 11 points versus the Flyers. The rest of the team had 1. 41 points between the 3, leading the team. Backstrom, Ovi, and Wilson, 12 points apiece. So I think it's going to come down to health now. And Kuzi has to get healthy from COVID. Samsonov has to get healthy. You go to the guys that are nicked up like a Schultz. That was a real blow, I believe, through the blue line when he got hit in the puck by Bellows, the Bellows kid from the island. So I think that they need to get healthy in a hurry.
Well, Dad, that is one bright spot, right? I guess another bright spot is we talk about these injuries and COVID and Schultz. The Caps now have time to rest, recover, get their lineup back to the way that they want it. So, yes, while it's unfortunate that they're going to be off for, almost a week now?
Almost a week.
They will have a lot of time to rest and recover and maybe go over some film, some things that they don't have a ton of time to do, and to really study the game and to go over a lot of things that they want to fix.
Well, yeah, because now they can actually practice it. It's a lot easier on the ice. Even in Toronto, there's some new things. I know you want to talk about Pittsburgh coming up here, but I mean, the Caps and teams like, for example, the Caps have practice time now, so it's going to be interesting in how they utilize that. I think some guys, it's going to be conditioning, guys like Kuznetsov and Samsonov and guys like that. TJ Oshie getting the back in the lineup. Hopefully his upper body injury is fine. And teams are looking at different ways to teach players now because of COVID. In Toronto, they're even trying different stuff to try to teach the players so they don't spend as much time in the locker room. Sheldon Keefe actually brought a big screen TV out onto the bench. And the players after practice, even the older veteran guys said, man, that's so cool. I'm a visual learner. And when does this come through, right? Like, I can't believe it that all of a sudden, but we've seen it in college rinks, right? Where they have the big screen and you can actually see yourself in practice and they monitor your practice so you're not so-called floating around. That would have been bad for me. But I tell you what, I used to hide the best. Like, if I had to skate, the one thing I always did when I skated, Court, when he said, okay, line it up, we're going to do some up and downs or blue line, red line, and back and all that, I never, ever skated with Mike Gartner or anybody.
Oh, yeah, the fast players?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally. When they say to, line up or get in groups, you'd always want to go to, the slow people or always go to the back because by going in the back, you for sure could not be first in skating drills.
What I've taught you over the years?
I feel like father, like daughter for sure because I would always go to the back line. But, Dad, this brings up an interesting point. What were your practices like? And you talk about being a visual learner. Number one, you don't teach visually at Network Hockey in all of our camps. You're never at a whiteboard writing things down.
I wanted to take it in mentally and try to comprehend it. But yeah, it's a good point. So I'm going to carry a 65-inch screen in my back pocket, I guess, onto the ice. But no, our coaches, Brian Murray and Terry Murray, would stand like this with their hats down and they'd say, boys, we just came off a road trip. We would land at Washington National, get off the plane, get a bus, go to Mount Vernon, get in the locker room, get dressed, and be on the ice. We only had a half hour to get ready. On the ice we'd go, and he said, boys, we're going to sweat it out a little bit, get a lather going. I know you guys were out last
I was about
night.
to say, yeah, why is he telling you to
Yeah,
sweat it out? What's he
said,
asking you to sweat
out? I know you
out?
guys went out last night. Don't think I don't know. And that was the type of practice. No, very high tempo. I thought Brian Murray, Terry Murray. But in this day and age, it's all about teaching more.
Yeah.
They teach even more skills than we were ever taught. We were taught, typical systems, but never did we really say, okay, Craig, you're turning your stick wrong to catch that pass off the wall, where now everything's so darn technical.
Well, because of technology, right? Technology has been able
Absolutely.
to enhance the game for the good or bad, whether you like the things that technology has been able to enhance. So, Dad, you talk about your old days with the Washington Capitals, and you mentioned guys like Brian Murray. February 9th, I want to know, February 9th, 1988, does that date mean something to you? Because this is our Landover Legends segment. Do you have any idea what that date is?
It means a lot to me, but I think it means a lot more to other people that got fleeced on a trade. I know fans out there are saying Marty Erat for Forsberg was one of the worst trades.
Yep.
Laughlin for Ledyard, give me a break. David Poyle got fleeced on that deal, sending me to L.A.
So that's what happened on February 9th, 1988.
But David did say when he traded me, I figured, Craig, you might want to be a movie star later on in life.
Oh, what? So he traded you out LA. And Dad, how did that work out for you?
Not very good.
Not very good, because we're in our basement at Laughlin Studio, Laughlin 18, doing family
Locker
podcasts,
18
family
Studio
face-off.
Court. Get it right, okay? Am I going to have to keep telling you it's Locker 18 Studio?
I thought it was Laughlin 18
Okay.
Studio. Okay. Legends of Landover. Dad, we have a
Yes.
special
Oh,
guest
my
coming
God.
on the show to talk about what that day was like,
It was a
and
tough,
to give an
tough
insight.
day, Court, considering I had spent a lot of time here, over 400 games. It put tears in our eyes when we heard we were being traded to L.A.
So joining us is none other than Linda Laughlin. Mom is on the show, and she joined us, Dad, to give what it was like for her and the family the day that you were traded.
It was the AllStar Break. You were born, I think, on a Tuesday, maybe. I'm not sure, but we came home maybe a couple of days before, because in those days I had a C-section, and people stayed in the hospital 5-6 days.
Yeah.
So I had just come home, and we actually planned the section around the All-Star break, because in those days, guys did not get days off. They did not get any breaks. And so we thought, oh, this is great. We, it just happens to be the right time, and we can do that. So that's how we did it. And then, we were probably a couple of days home watching the All-Star game. And as soon as the All-Star game was over, the phone rang, and my heart sank. I thought, I knew it.
How did you know?
Guys get traded after the All-Star game. You weren't playing a lot. You were probably in and out of the lineup for the first time in your career, since from the day you came up from Montreal.
Sour.
Oh, yeah, there was always that happy thought around the house, big sour lip. And the combination, it felt like, and
so
nobody
you knew
calls
it.
at 10:30 at night either.
No
So-
good phone call comes at
At 10,
late at
so
night.
there's the
Yeah.
10:30 at night call after the game was over. There was Dad hadn't dressed regular since probably Christmas, so there was that, and there was the fact that that was one of the big trade. All the GMs were around chit chatting. What do you got? What can I use? And so they were all buddy at the game. And when that phone rang, I just said, oh. And of course, I made Dad take it, which he usually didn't do, because I just knew.
And there's no caller ID, right? So like
No,
you don't know at
house
that
phone,
point.
caller ID, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
My heart
So
felt...
yeah. No, it was
So
hard.
were you like literally on the plane the next,
next
day? So
day.
here I am, this little newborn in
Yeah.
diapers, 7
diapers.
days old.
You're
Not even in diapers.
Yeah,
I'm in a
brand
swaddle.
new baby, and I had a 3-year-old. Kyle was a 3-year-old at the time. No family here. Canada was the closest family, and we were about to go to LA. Remember, in those days, people just didn't hop on planes and do that.
Yeah.
I mean, our family would never have done it. Craig's mom and dad,
They
grandma.
didn't charter a plane for me, put it that way.
No, they sure didn't.
Not
So
like they do now.
the next morning, first thing, Dad went to the rink, and he had to gather up his sticks and his gear and his this and to say goodbye and clear out his locker and everything else. And then
LA was playing that night.
right, and I think he had like a 4:00 flight, which would have got him out there that night with the time change. I don't think he dressed. I'm not sure if you did
I
play.
did not dress.
Yeah.
What I did is I walked into the Fabulous Forum, and I was like starstruck. I'm in L.A. I'm at the Fabulous Forum.
Yeah.
And I ended up sitting probably 10 rows off the ice because they said, you traveled all day, you're not going to play, even though they probably wanted me to play. You're not playing today. And I remember the GM coming to me, who at the time was Hall of Famer Rogie Vachon, and he was a GM, and he said to me in his broken French, "We are so happy to have you. We have been looking for a fast winger this whole season."
And Dad
with
said,
that,
"Uh-oh."
I was like, this may not work
Did he
out.
read the scouting report on you?
I don't know.
not.
Maybe he listened to some
Maybe it was
scout that wasn't watching.
maybe it was translated into French, came out a little different. I think very possibly.
But
I'm not sure.
I knew I was in trouble as soon as he said that. Because I was not fast. But I did end up, I think, scoring my first game on a slap shot. I forget against who on the power play when Robbie Fatorik put me in the game. But it was a hard transition. And you move months later when she had to
Yeah, I had to stay
lug
home.
2 kids out.
Yeah.
Right,
I
so
had
you
a
didn't go. I mean, you were
I had
on
a
a plane.
C-section.
7
I-
days later, going out
surgery.
going out with him to LA.
No, I had to wait 6 weeks minimum before I would even be allowed to travel. So there I am, newborn, new baby, 3-year-old, by myself. Dad's gone, trying not only to manage that environment, but then also pack up a house, pack up children. I have to find a flight. I have to get you. I mean, you're newborn.
And
it's
it
not
was,
easy to
let me
travel.
tell you, it was
yeah.
hard being a star out in L.A.
Oh, poor
Oh,
baby.
my
He had a
God.
tough time.
The only
and-
star that I'm looking at is this one right here.
Well,
It's
it was a
Mom.
lot. It was a lot to travel. Baby in arm, 3-year-old in tow, a bassinet, travel bed, travel playpen, a car seat. Right,
We
I gotta
had to stay
have.
at an extended hotel when you got out there.
yeah,
and
we
we
did.
were with Ron Duguay. at
Ronnie
the time
Duguay got traded right after us, like
from
2
the
days
New York
later.
Rangers. So
Yeah, and
his
so
whole
he
family
came,
was in
and
our
they we hung out together. They were it was a lot of fun there. That part was great, and she
Right.
had 2 kids, so we would go to the pool in the community, and the kids. I mean, this is hockey season, and we're going to the pool with the kids, and guys were at
LA.
practice, and they
Yeah.
took their car together, and they drove to practice, and we hung out together. So that part, wasn't so bad. I came out actually with a gal that we used to babysit you, and I paid her like 2 months' salary to come with me because I figured, I'm not going to have any babysitters. I'm never going to see a game. I'm never going to this. So
Well, at 7 weeks, she was a handful also, honey. I mean, it has not
so
changed.
nothing's changed. That's right.
I
we
mean,
did
I
right
couldn't
off the
buy
bat.
it honestly. I don't know.
So that was part of our entourage. She actually came later though. She didn't fly with me, so I still had you guys as babies to fly. But she came about a week later, and so that was really helpful. That it gave me a little bit of mobility with Dad being brand new there.
Right.
And I wanted to assimilate with the gals, with the wives and the families, and so it gave me a little bit of freedom. But it was a process, and
And how times have changed. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's a whole new world.
players take days off.
Oh yeah,
and
they get everything.
they get to not go to
Yeah.
practice
Yeah.
and all these things. And I don't know, it's a totally different world.
It is, and but I mean, this was hockey. We got totally different. We got married at the end of August for all those same reasons. Like everything
You
was
planned every family
was
planning around
correct.
hockey.
Family
Yeah.
planning and life planning was all scheduled around what his requirements were going to be. And
I tell you this, Court, she may be trying to take over my seat here on Family Face-Off.
no,
I
nope,
like
nope,
this.
Talk about
Yes.
this segment. This is one of the best we've ever had.
Welcome into Family Face Off. This is Courtney, joined by Linda Laughlin, my mom, and we're going to talk about the Caps.
No, that's all right. I'm very happy to be behind the scenes.
I
Well
know.
behind.
Well,
Well
we
behind.
love you,
but
Mom.
yeah.
Yeah, thanks for joining on this
My
little
girls.
segment of really, this is really Family Face Off.
Yeah, and it was so tough on her. I mean, remember back in the day, we had no days off after you were born, no time to
Right.
spend at the hospital with my wife, and all of a sudden I'm traded, and it's like, wow. But back then it was like, Craig, you're going to play hockey. That's your job. I'm going to be taking care of the kids, and she took all of that under her own wings, and that to me, kudos, first star. MVP, Norris Trophy,
Mom.
Art Ross, you name it. She won every trophy that was available for what she did.
This also brings up an interesting point. Yes, there's no doubt that the way that the NHL and players across all sports are treated differently, especially when
Yep.
it comes to their family. But this year and this season, I don't know. This trade talk is interesting to me because we saw the one trade of Patrick Laine for Pierre-Luc Dubois going to Winnipeg and Columbus. Are there going to be a lot of trades? I mean, yes, the days of the blockbuster trades, even when you came to Washington, is kind of done and over.
I think so.
But I even look at this season with 56 games and so many teams not even playing, having weeks off because of COVID. I don't know. I don't think we're going to see the amount of trades that we've even used to be seeing even last year, the year before.
I just think it's probably going to come at the deadline for teams that are out saying, look, we're out.
Sure,
we're going to make
teams
some
that are out,
moves.
yeah.
The problem there is then you've got another 2 weeks or you have quarantine time that you have to be aware of for those players, especially.
Right.
It's not going to be easy, for example, to come from Canada to play in the States or go from the States to play in Canada, right? There's so many rules and regulations, not only by the countries, but from the states or the provinces about COVID and all that. So to me, it's a very difficult thing. And plus the season's short. It's like people ask me, are there going to be any coaches fired? I don't think they can be because of the monetary factor is teams can't afford in this environment to play a coach that's been with them, to add another coach to the salary. And all of a sudden, I don't think, and because of that, only these type of deals that can be put together for players that want out. And the players that want out, you've got to make a move. You can't have them be a part of the team anymore when they say, I want to be traded. And to me, that was probably a big part of the Luc Dubois and Laine deal.
Mm-hmm. So Pierre-Luc Dubois, Patrick Laine. Laine comes to Columbus. So, Dad, let's take a look at the NHL.
Wait a sec. Can I touch on Laine?
Sure.
That might have been the worst team for him to go to with John Tortorella and his demands on a player, number one, to be ready to play, number two, to play both sides of the puck. And we've seen it with Laine right off the bat. He's not the same player because he was off. He wasn't. He was hurt. He didn't play. Now he comes into an environment that Tortorella's like, guys, you got to be in shape to play, and I'm only going to play if you're in shape. Roslovic comes in, and he's in fantastic shape. The kid from Columbus, who's playing great, plays over 20-some minutes. Laine gets benched in his third or fourth game and doesn't play. To me, that's going to be a dicey situation.
And classic Tort says, hey, what happens in the locker room? I'm not going to talk about it, but yeah, I want a lot from my players. That's a whole nother show for Family
We're going to do a
Face-Off,
coaching show, yes.
John Tortorella. So, Dad, real quickly, let's just have some fun and talk about what's happening around the NHL. In the East, I want to talk on this because we talked about practices and what it was like. The Pittsburgh Penguins, they went out to practice earlier this week. They all used wooden sticks, just like this one back there that weighs about 500 pounds. And they tweeted and they said that wooden sticks are generally heavier, less flexible, and have less bounce, perfect for working on puck control.
A great idea. I mean, coaches are trying to be innovative, especially when they had a long layoff.
Right.
So now you're trying to make practices interesting, whether they run games in small game situations like we do all the time, we see in kids hockey. They do the same thing, but now adding different equipment. I know when you played, you used to flip your stick over. If I was a righty, I had to play lefty. We'd sometimes also play ringette when I was in Canada, where we'd flip our stick over and play ringette.
Right.
And to me, all those things just keep you enthused, keep you a part of it. But the big thing in Pittsburgh, Court, maybe they are going to go, and Brian Burke may come in and say, guys, all you can use now is wooden sticks, because he is old school. And he becomes the head of hockey operations, and their new GM, Ronnie Hextall, they're going to try to change it around after Rutherford left unsuspectingly and quickly.
Any other real quick notes about teams in the NHL, disappointments, good things, bad things?
You know what? All we're talking about, here in town, and I want to mention this, is Vancouver.
Yeah.
Everyone, Braden Holtby's out there. I mean, Demko's out there. They're getting no support.
Have lost 5 straight.
They allow, Court, a breakaway, a period.
Yeah.
What the heck is going on there? And that, to me, was going to be one of my surprise picks this year. I thought what they did last year was spectacular. But their big guns aren't playing great. Their defense as porous as Swiss cheese, and they're in trouble. I just think they're in trouble. Court, they lose another couple of games, I'm going to, like Joe B gets mad at me when I start Xing off teams. I'm going to start Xing off teams 15 games into the season. That's 3 games away.
You might have to, though, with the 56-game season. How about this? Toronto leads the league, 21 points, 10-2-1. I mean, Would you have thought that they would have been the number one team in the NHL?
No, there's absolutely no way. But they're getting great goaltending. I like their stars are playing like stars.
Yeah.
Matthews is great. Marner's been
Weasley
great.
been scoring.
Tavares has been great. I just don't know, Court, and I'm going to say this now, if they can come out and get to the Stanley Cup Finals. I don't think they can.
I know everyone in Canada is rooting for that with that all
I
Canadian
wore
division,
14 and
Montreal's
18 there, by
great.
the way.
You wore
Did you
what?
know that?
What?
I first wore 14 in Toronto, and then Peter Anichuk got traded, so I quickly asked the trainer, can I have number 18? And they said yes.
Why 18?
Because I wore it here all the time.
Why'd you get it? Why'd you wear it here? Or you're like Bonsai or Bondro, and he was just like,
You know
I
what?
don't know.
There was no reason why I wore 18. Back in the day, you were just given a jersey. There was no like, oh, give me number 9 because I feel like I'm Bobby Hall. Give me number 4 because I'm Bobby Orr. No, I was
back
given
in the day.
18 and you don't say a word. You stand there and say, yes, sir. Yes, yes, thank you. Totally different. It wasn't like
Well-
when you played, when you demanded 99 or whatever you demanded.
I did
But that's
not.
that's another
I
story.
did not.
99.
I wore number 22 in honor of you because you wore that number at Clarkson.
That's because 99 was taken.
Oh, okay. Well, speaking of 18, thanks everybody for joining into Family Face Off and watching us record this episode at the Laughlin
One last thing.
18 studio. Yeah.
Locker 18 studio
Locker
court.
18 studio.
Okay,
I'll get it next
One
show.
more thing, fans. We are so thrilled that everyone went out and bought Wicked Wrister. It's been a fantastic success, and all the money's going to a great cause. We can't but thank you, and thank you for what you did with that beer.
Almost sold out, which is incredible. And
Court, I
Dad's
gotta run.
almost
Court,
out too.
Court, I
Dad's
gotta-
almost out.
Court, I'll see you later. Take it away. I'm going to get a beer.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching Family Face Off episode 5. You can tune in next week, episode 6. We'll be back. You can check us out anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, realfundc.com. For Courtney Laughlin,
Wait a
who
second,
knows
you
where
still
my
need me,
dad
Court?
is?
I'm back.
No, I got it. That's a wrap. We'll see you guys
Goodbye,
next
everybody.
time.
Go Cat.